Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I've been looking forward to this video for so long. But first, I wanted to start this session with a talk about professionalism. The thing you have to know about me is that I like to present myself with a high level of professionalism. The person sitting in my chair has my entire focus and attention, and my goal is just to honor them the way that they deserve to be treated and pampered. When I show up, I come focused and prepared every single time. Family is the most important thing to me, and I try to treat each person I encounter with respect and love. My clients can vouch that I treat them just as I would my own family, because to me, each of my client is important and significant in their own way. This week, I wanted to share with you guys something very special and extremely personal. People ask me all the time who my favorite client is, and this week, I'm very excited to have her here. As you know, Mother's Day is around the corner, and today I have the one, the only, Karen Jamel Holm. I'm so excited to have my mom with me today on my channel. Thanks so much for being here. She's my favorite client of all time. Hello, I mean, come on, she's my mom, the most important client that I've ever had in my life. And period.
I'm so blessed to be with my favorite makeup artist ever.
You guys heard it here first. Oh, and we also have Teddy with us today too.
This is my grand dog, isn't he, darling? So sweet.
For skin prep, I'm gonna be mixing two products together. I'm gonna start off with my Skin Divine Elixir Luminous Firming Cream, and then I'm also gonna be going in with my Elemis Superfood Facial Oil. Now, I actually went ahead and mixed these together, so that way it really hydrates the skin. I love doing this. I'll mix oils with moisturizers, and we'll just kind of let this melt into the skin, so that way by the time I come back to the skin after eyes, the skin is nice and prepped and smooth. And I'm just working this in with a foundation brush. You can always go in and use your hands. She's trying not to laugh right now, you guys. She has this thing, you guys, every time I do her makeup, look.
It tickles. This does feel cool and refreshing.
Sell it.
Yes, I can feel the hydration working.
Yes, it feels so good on the skin. I'm just gonna bring this over the eye area. So one thing I love about this moisturizer is that it really firms the skin. It keeps the skin nice and tight, and it's extremely hydrating. And then as for the oil, you already know we love oils on the skin. My mom uses so many different oils on her skin, but the Elemis Superfood Oil is just so nourishing and hydrating, and it has such an amazing earthy smell to it that we love.
Very nice smell.
So good. And then whatever's left over, I always like to take it and then just kind of put it on the arms, the rest of the body, so that way we're nice and hydrated. For eye cream, I'm gonna be using my Mother Up All Night eye cream. I do have some on the back of my hand here, and I'm gonna be working it in with this little under eye tool. It feels really cooling under the eyes, and I'm just gonna kind of work this in. Now, what this does for the under eyes is it helps to brighten and smooth out the under eye texture. And not only that, it also helps to repair the under eye. And it definitely feels like a nice little massage under the eye. I kind of like to work it in backwards. I feel like it doesn't stretch the skin out this way. Next up, I'm gonna be using my Big O Tinted Lip Balm. This one is in the shade Dolly Fever, and it's so nice because it does have a tint of this mauve hue to it. And I'm just gonna work this into her lips, and we're just gonna let this sit, so by the time I come back to do your lips, they'll be nice and prepped. To prep the eyes, I'm gonna be going in with my P. Louise Base Pro in the shade Rumor 03. I'm just gonna pat this onto her eyelid and then bring it up right underneath the brow bone. Just starting along the lash line and then just slowly working my way up. And then sometimes I like to go in with a smaller beauty blender and then just kind of press the outer corners in just to make sure that it's nice and seamless, and just lightly press around the eye area. So moving on to eyeshadow, I feel like you have a signature look. Like you love the mauve tones.
I do.
She definitely has a look, and I feel like we need to do that look. It's a very Karen Jamel Holm signature, you know? So I'm gonna start off with my BUXOM Cosmetics Boss Babe Dolly eyeshadow palette. She loves this eyeshadow palette because I feel like it's all the tones that you love to use, and I'll open it up so I can show you guys. So it's a lot of beautiful mauve tones. So we're gonna start off with this.
Speaking of eyeshadow, remember that time in middle school? You took my gold eyeshadow out of my drawer.
Oh, I did?
And it became missing?
I still have it, actually. No, I've hang on to everything that I've taken from her because it's like iconic. I would go into your drawer and take your products. I think I was like in elementary school.
You probably
And I would find all these like gold eyeshadows, really gaudy, like, I don't know, very Lebanese types of tones. Loved it. And I think I still have some of those eyeshadows because I just can't let it go. It's like this amazing memorabilia that I have of you. I'm not giving it to her.
Enjoy.
Okay, I'm gonna start off with this shade called On Ice. This kind of has a soft, frosty tint to it. Now, I don't always go for frosty tones on mature skin. Don't be mad at me, I said it.
That's a nice way of putting it. Mature skin.
But this isn't an extremely frosty color. It's really more on a, this isn't really an extreme frosty metallic shade. You'll see it's really soft. So I'm just gonna start off by patting this along the lash line, and I'm using a brush that I've been working on. You guys know, you hear me say this all the time, so stay tuned for that. I've got a brush set coming your way in the future. This look is definitely gonna be more on the monochromatic side because I feel like that is something that you always do. You always tie in like what you're wearing on the cheeks with your lips and sometimes even on your eyes. So we're definitely gonna do that today. And I want this to kind of just be like a wash on the eyelid. My mom has really beautiful eye shape, and I usually like to keep all the focus on her eyelid because, you know, she's got a lot of real estate going on. Now I'm just gonna take a blending brush and I'm just gonna kind of go over this area. So have you look down for me, Mom? And I'm just softly blending this up into the crease. And I'm using really light pressure. I always wanna make sure that whenever I'm doing her makeup, I have a really light hand. And then I'm being really gentle, and I think that's really important on more mature skin. And that's honestly how you should treat anybody's skin, no matter the age, with a really light hand, because our faces are really delicate. Remember that time we went to the MAC store and we got our makeup done together?
I remember.
I left loving my look. This is before I worked at MAC. I was in, how old was I? I was in high school, okay?
Yes.
So we went into MAC to get our makeup done, and she looked in the mirror at the end.
It was a shock.
She wanted to cry. So I had to be her makeup artist ever since. So I was like, I cannot let you do this. Because I feel like whoever did your makeup didn't really give you a consultation. And she looked into the mirror. She had like she's like, I love purple tones. I love really dark purple tones. But that's not really what you meant. I feel like she took it really literal. And you ended up with like 2 black eyes and you wanted to cry.
That's why I need you. You know me. You know me.
Okay, next I'm gonna be going in with my KKW Beauty Matte Mauve Eyeshadow Palette, and I'm gonna be using this shade right here. So using a more tapered blending brush, I'm just starting off in the outer corner, and I'm just bringing this right to where the eye folds. And I wanna be really mindful of my placement because I don't wanna bring this up really any higher than her crease. So that way all the focus is kind of just like on the outer corner of the eye and a little bit on the lid right here. So nothing too high. I'm basically just blending this just in the outer corner, making a slight V. And this is just to lift the shape of her eyes up.
Will it make me look younger?
Well, that's the point.
Do it.
So I want to give your eyes a little bit of a lift, and I really love what I just did here. So I'm going to show you guys how we did that. I'm going to start off with the darkest eyeshadow from this palette, and I'm going to be using a really small flat dent brush. So starting from the outer corner of her eye, I'm just going to start building this up. And I'm basically just building up the color, and I'm applying this dry. Sometimes I go in and wet the brush, but in this case, I wanted to apply it dry, and I just want to kind of smoke out the eye area. So I really want this to go from thick to thin. So that's why I'm starting in the outer corner, just building this up. And I'm also kind of tilting my brush in an upward direction. So that way we get more of this nice edge right here. And I'm just getting the brush as close to her lash line as possible. And I'm holding my thumb right here. So that way, in case she blinks, I'll be able to catch it. And you just want to go little by little and just kind of work this in. And there are kinks on the eyelid, so you kind of have to be really delicate and just use the brush in different directions to make sure that the product lays smooth. So I'll have you look down in this way because that basically flattens the eyelid and it makes it a lot easier to get into the inner corner. So we're basically creating a really beautiful mauve-y color eye story. And I'm just gonna lift the outer corner of her eye up just to make sure that I get right underneath the lash line. Okay, so to clean this up, I'm gonna be using one of my KELLEY skin wipes, and I'm just gonna flatten this out right here. And I'm gonna bring this in a downward direction. You don't wanna pull this way because it's going to drag the skin. So we basically would bring it in an opposite direction that you would normally wipe your eye if you were to choose to. Basically just creating a line in an upward direction just to lift the shape of my mom's eyes up. Because we are all about creating optical illusions.
We like the word lift.
Yes. For the brow highlight, I'm gonna use something that's a little more on the soft, whitish lavender side. So I'm gonna be using the lightest shade from this palette, and it is matte. So I'm using a more flat brush, and I'm just gonna get right underneath the brow bone with this, just to brighten this up, and this will give the brows a nice little lift here.
There's that word lift again.
Oh my God.
I need all the lift I can get.
Anytime a model is coming over to get their makeup done to be on my channel, I always make sure that they leave with a lot of makeup, you know, leave with like a little goodie bag, something to go home with as a thank you, because we're Middle Eastern. That's what we do. We never want you to leave our house empty-handed. But I have to tell you guys, her sisters put an order in. It was quite the order, okay? These bags are heavy. They asked for name brands. They asked for designer brands, but I love your sisters. They're my aunts, so whatever they want, of course.
And they love you so much.
And she left with the heaviest bag too.
What would you do in my situation?
Milk it. So right before we do foundation, I'm gonna go in with my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Hydrating Primer, and it is just that. I love using this on all skin types, especially mature skin, because it is so hydrating, but it does help to smooth out fine lines, pores, and it does help to lock in the makeup for an all-day wear.
There's that word again, mature skin. That's a very tactful way of putting it. I like it.
So I'm just putting this in the T-zone and just really working that in.
Nice and cool.
I always like to bring it around the sides of the mouth too, but it is really refreshing on the skin. It feels light, and it just makes the perfect base before foundation. For foundation, I'm gonna be using my Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation in the shade 7.5. And you guys know, we love this foundation. It's hydrating on the skin, it feels lightweight, and it just gives you the most beautiful glow. So I'm just gonna start off on the jawline. I'm just gonna start working my way up. It is really important to do the neck. Okay.
That tickles.
Listen, girl, we gotta do your neck. So
okay.
You need to hold these tickles in, hold the laughs in, because we gotta get through it, okay? But I do love this foundation because it keeps the skin looking youthful and fresh. It's hydrating at the same time, and it gives a glow. So you can really never go wrong. And I'm using more of a duo fiber brush just to work this in, because the coverage that it gives is more of like a light medium coverage, which is exactly what we want. And the sponge that I'm using is by Makeup Forever. This is such a lightweight sponge. I feel like it also doesn't really absorb all the product. So it's a great one to use to blend out your foundation or your concealer. And you can just kind of go in and then pat around that area. She's learning a lot today, you guys.
Do I get the job? Am I hired?
I think you're in the middle of
What do you
honestly.
think?
To shade the skin, I'm gonna be using my Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Intensity 01. So again, I'm gonna be using the top of the ear as a guide as to where to kind of start this contour. And I'm just gonna softly start working this into the tops of the cheeks. And you can either blend this out with your fingers or you can use a brush. This product really does melt into the skin. It's so lightweight and sheer and hydrating. And it just leaves the skin with a really nice shadow. And I'm also gonna be using this right under the jaw. She's trying not to laugh, you guys. And you can even blend this out with a beauty blender. Any of these tools will do. It really just comes down to what you feel comfortable with. I also like to warm up the product on the back of my hand so I can really see the consistency before it hits the face. So just sculpting right underneath the jaw and then bringing this in a downward direction. And just creating a really light shadow on her face. We definitely want to bring back more depth into the cheeks, so I'm going to be putting more focus further back into the hairline and then slightly bringing this into a downward direction. And you'll start to see that it will give the skin just more life overall. The brush that I'm using is by ColourPop. This is F5. And then also shading the forehead just a little bit. I want to be really mindful of how I shade her forehead. We have two really different foreheads going on here. I have a huge forehead, you have a very small forehead. So I want to make sure that I only shade like the outer part of the forehead to open it up. I'm just gonna use what's left over on the brush just to shade the sides of the nose, and I'm gonna put a little bit on the tip just to lift it up. For concealer, I'm gonna be going in with my NUDESTEX NUDEFIX Cream Concealer in the shade 5. This one's kind of closer to your skin tone, I feel. I don't want like a super bright, light under eye. I want this to look more on the natural side. And I like this concealer because it is really lightweight on the skin. It's also very hydrating. I'm just gonna make a few dots here. And you also don't really have dark under eye circles. I feel like you don't, not really. You have a few brown spots like from, you know, over the years being in the sun, but I feel like this will lightly cover them and help it to blend more into your skin. I'm also gonna highlight the bridge of your nose, and we're gonna bring back some light on the forehead a little bit. Let's lift the sides of the mouth up and bring this around the sides of the nose as well. And I did give this to her because she left with a big old bag. She's leaving my house with a big bag like she always does. Well, she deserves it. She's my mom and it is Mother's Day.
And I haven't left yet.
Yeah. And to blend this in, I'm just gonna be using a concealer brush. This one is nice and soft. When was the first time you felt like I really started to get into makeup, like that you remember?
When you were 4 years old.
It's young.
And Dad and I bought you a little playhouse kitchen that was your size. It had the little oven and the stove and the refrigerator. We put it, Santa Claus came, we put it by the tree. And you came downstairs, you weren't that enthused about it. Then you went over to your Christmas stocking that Santa left you. And there was some lip gloss, Jasmine lip gloss.
Princess Jasmine, hello.
You flipped, and we took a picture of you going, ah, you were so excited. You were 4 years old.
I feel like that was the moment.
Yeah, and here I spent all this money on this kitchen set. I buy you a $2 lip gloss, and you were more excited.
She was trying to make me domestic at 4, okay? When really all I wanted all along was just like a Princess Jasmine chapstick. It was a simpler time.
That was your favorite gift.
And a little does go a long way. I feel like it blends really effortlessly on the skin. And it feels really hydrating underneath the eye area, which is important. On more mature skin, I like to start off with like lighter weight products and then build up from there, because really less is more on the skin and we just want it to look natural. And that's the whole point. We want you to look younger.
Don't we all?
And I'm just going in with the Beauty Blender just to kind of push it back into the skin. And this is also really important to do before you set the under eye area. We want to make sure that it doesn't sink into any lines underneath the eyes. To set the skin, I'm going to be using my Dragon Beauty powder in the shade Invisible. And this powder is great to use underneath the eye area and also to set the skin because it is so finely milled. It's really smooth on the skin and it doesn't really cake up at all, which is why I love it. And when it comes to powder underneath the eye area, less is more. Sometimes no powder at all. It really just depends on the look that you're doing. I am going to smoke out her eyes a little bit more. So that's why I do want to have a little bit of powder underneath the eye area. But sometimes we don't even powder your skin at all, I feel like. Because foundation technically does set itself. But I do like to powder the nasolabial folds just to smooth out any lines around this area. And I'm gonna powder around the brows because we are gonna fill them in so that way the product sticks really well. To lightly set your cream contour, I'm gonna be going in with my BUXOM Cosmetics bronzer. This one is in the shade Rooftop Tan. And the brush that I'm using is by Samey. This is 2.1. Now I'm just gonna lightly set right on top of this area. All the work's been done for us. We can literally use any area that we place the cream contour as a guide as to where to put the powder contour. And this is also gonna bring back even more color into the skin. And I'm just patting it into the skin, basically stippling the brush just to build up the color payoff. And this one has a nice glow to it, so I do feel like it mimics the look of skin. It's not overly shiny, but it's still kind of a soft matte at the same time, but you get a little bit of a glow, so it's kind of best of both worlds. A little bit of a sheen to it. I think I'm gonna smoke out right underneath the lash line just a little bit. So I'm gonna go back in with this shade here, and I think I might mix these two together. And I'm using the same brush that I used to do the liner on the top. I feel like we're alike in so many ways, but also different in so many ways. Like, I'm just like a smidge more high maintenance. Is that the word?
A smidge more?
Just a little bit, just a little. You've always been more on the natural side of your makeup. I feel like this is definitely your look. Like, you love a look like this, but this is really like an elevated version of her look.
And for me to look like this, you have to do this.
Yeah.
That's why you're the professional makeup artist and I'm not.
But if you guys want to know where I get my teaching skills from, you're looking at her, because my mom's a teacher. She has always been a teacher. She's retired now, but you've taught your whole life, right?
Yeah,
and I just feel like I naturally picked that up from you. And just in a different way, you know? I like to educate people on makeup.
Yeah, it's all good. You do a great job.
For brows, I think I'm gonna mix two different shades. These are my Kelly Baker brow pencils in the shade dark brown and brown. These are two of my favorites to use. I'm just gonna start off by following the natural shape of her brows, and I'm using a really light hand to fill them in. The lighter, the better, and honestly, slow and steady wins the race on this one. You really wanna take your time, because we don't want these brows to look painted on. I want them to look really soft, but still defined at the same time. And I'm basically just creating strokes of hair in the direction that her hair already grows. And I'm just gonna brush this through just to soften it up. And then once we start to get into the inner part of the brow, I'm gonna hold the brush in a vertical direction and make vertical strokes of hair. And I'm just really lightly letting this touch her skin. The softer, the better. So that way we get this really nice faded out look. Just want everything to look really natural and seamless. Now I'm gonna go in with the darker pencil, and I'm just gonna start making soft strokes of hair just to add a little bit more depth. For blush, I want to keep it nice and light and fresh, so I'm going to be using one of my NUDESTEX blushes. This one is called Naughty and Spice, and I've just had mine depotted here. So I like to check the consistency on the back of my hand first, just to see how much product I actually have on the brush, and I'll have you smile for me. And I'm just gonna apply this on the tops of the cheeks in an upward direction, just to bring a little color back into the face. And it's cream, so it just looks like skin, and it never like seeps into lines or anything like that. And it's okay if it blends into the eyeshadow. I do like that look. And then you can also take a beauty blender to kind of blend out the edges as well. So you guys know I'm Lebanese, and clearly I get that side from my mom. She's full Lebanese, Arab. And I feel like I bring a lot of those like techniques out into the makeup that I do. A lot of the work that I do is focused on the eyes. And I feel like Arabic women are just all about that in the Middle East. So you probably noticed by now, I bring a lot of that out into the makeup that I do. And another thing that it just makes me laugh, it tickles me so much, is, did you guys peep the accent though? She is Lebanese, but she has the cutest little Texas accent.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She's so cute.
I do not have an accent.
Why are you trying to hide it? When you grow up in Texas for so long, that Southern accent, it just sticks, you know? It just sticks, honey. Honey, you know it sticks. Don't try to act like it doesn't now.
It is what it is.
It's deep, it's deeply embedded in you, and I personally love it. I think it's the cutest thing ever, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there are so many Lebanese people in Houston, Texas. Shockingly, there's a huge community.
Some good Lebanese restaurants.
The best
too.
food ever. Oh my God, the best food.
So y'all come on down now.
Y'all come back now,
down.
you hear? So I want to bring back even more glow into the skin. So I'm going to be using my Danessa Myricks highlighter. This is my Dew Wet Balm, and this is one of my favorites. It just leaves the skin so glowy. And I'm just going to pat this into the skin, and it just keeps the skin nice and hydrated. It gives the most beautiful glow. And then I'll bring this down the bridge of the nose as well. And a little bit on the side of the chin. You guys know I always love to do that. For mascara, I'm going to be using my Armani Eyes to Kill mascara because this one is nice and lengthening and it's pretty soft on the eyes too. This is one of my favorite mascaras to use, and you guys already know I'm going to give this to her.
Yay!
Add that to the list. This one's really lengthening. It makes the lashes nice and full and wispy.
Do you know something, Ashley? I've never put false eyelashes on.
I know, and I almost thought, is today the day? But she just doesn't live for it, you guys. And it's Mother's Day. I wanted her to live for it. Like, you need to live for the glam. You need to feel it. You need to feel good. And that's what makeup should make you do. You know, it's a feel thing.
Mascaras are amazing, though.
So I'm just building this up, and it really builds. Like, you guys saw her lashes are pretty short naturally, but this really gave us some length. I'm just gonna do a really light coat on the bottom just to keep it more on the natural side. To wrap up this look, we need to tie it all together with a lip that's monochromatic. So I'm gonna use the shade Dolly Danger. This is a plump line lip liner by BUXOM, and it is plumping, which is so nice. We're gonna start off by overdrawing in the center of her lips, and I'm gonna keep the sides a bit more narrow. So just following the natural shape of her lips, but we are gonna cheat it, and we're gonna bring it up a bit higher here. I love that this has a brush on the other end, so that way you can kind of smooth out that line and perfect it. And I'm also going to shade in her lips entirely, so that way we really lock in this color. I'm also overdrawing the bottom of her lip as well, starting in the center. To top this off, I want to add some shine back into the lips just to keep your lips nice and hydrated, but still want to give you a little bit of a plump pout. So I'm going to use my BUXOM Cosmetics Full On Plumping Lip Polish in the shade Patricia, and she is gorgeous in fuchsia. Look at that. My mom loves fuchsia lip colors, loves. And it has such a subtle plump feel to it. Gorgeous!
Love it.
You look so beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks to you.
Stunning.
Thank you. See, can you call Dad and tell him it's date night?
Oh, where's my phone? Okay, that wraps up this Mother's Day look, and I want to thank my mom for being here for this. I love you so much, and for raising me with values and teaching me that character is the most important thing that you can develop. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you all learned something from this. We love you all.
And the most important job I ever had was being a mom. I love my children. And thank you so much for making me glamorous today. And we want to wish every mother out there a happy Mother's Day. Hurry before I forget.
Like, I'm just talking to the camera. You don't need to look like surprised and stuff. You know what I mean? Just like you're a model. Challenging. Okay, just look here. She's learning a lot today, you guys.
Do I get the job? Am I hired? Where's my contract? I'll sign it now.
I will keep on finding you.
The most important thing is the meaning you take from events. It's not the event, it's the meaning. Life happens for you, not to you. But the key is to be able to see that now. What's the positive though? You make decisions based on the meaning.